It's a pleasure to be here. So let's get cracking. So I want to speak about conditional token standard that we just released recently. And I would like to introduce a product called Site in the end. So can I maybe get a quick show of hands? Who here knows what a prediction market is? OK, so maybe about half. So let me quickly go through this. So a prediction market basically centers around a question that is not known yet, but will be known at some point in the future. So for example, here the question is, will the L train in Manhattan be repaired by the end of July 2020? It's possible. This is the current prediction. But as public infrastructure projects go, you never know, right? So what you do is you actually set up this market. You formulate a question, you specify the possible answers, so in this case, it's yes and no. Then you set the initial probability, so say, for instance, here it's set at 50-50, but you could actually have it start at an arbitrary probability. These, in the end of the market, so basically you set a date at which this will be resolved. And what happens then is if you hold the yes token, and this actually turns out to be true, then you will be given the collateral token that is backing this token. And if you hold the yes token and it doesn't turn out to be true, you don't get anything. So you don't get a payout. What that means, in essence, is that these tokens, the yes and the no token, they should, in principle, trade for the probability, for the price that reflects the probability of this happening or not. So basically, if you think the probability that the MTA is going to deliver is 80%, then these should trade for 80 cents on the dollar. And because it's a market, it's a liquidly traded market, so the idea is that this probability actually updates in real time. So as soon as some new piece of information comes out, say, for instance, the MTA is having troubles with one of the tunnels under the Hudson, then this would be incorporated into the market, and the probability of this would drop, hence the price of the yes token would drop. So far, so good? Cool. Fantastic. This is not working. Here we go. So this is the idea behind prediction markets. What you usually have is you have different kind of metrics that are actually interrelated. So what you actually want is you want to have conditional tokens where the tokens themselves, where the tokens themselves, you can see the correlation between the actual events that back them. So this is a little bit abstract, so I'll give you a very blockchain-y example. Oops. No. OK, so this is an example that centers around the MakerDAO ecosystem. Who knows how MakerDAO works, more or less? OK, so 2/3. So basically, MakerDAO is going to switch from single collateral DAI to multi-collateral DAI sometime later this year, probably. And they will have the multi-collateral DAI together with, in addition to the single collateral DAI for at least 6 months. So basically, these two systems will be running in parallel for at least 6 months. So these questions kind of reflect this. So the first question is, will multi-collateral DAI go live on mainnet by November 1st? This is the first prediction market. And you could have a prediction market as to this, as with the L train. The second market is, will multi-collateral DAI overtake single collateral DAI by a certain date? How do you measure this? You simply see how much DAI is being created with one contract and how much with the other, right? Clearly, these two are interrelated, right? So basically, if multi-collateral DAI is not live, there's no way for multi-collateral DAI to actually overtake single collateral DAI. Then we've thrown in a third market here. Will the stability fee for single collateral DAI go up from today's 20.5%? And here the correlation is not so clear, right? So basically, will the stability fee go up from today's stability fee if you throw in another system that can be where you can actually create CDPs with other collateral backing other than Ether or not? We don't know. There's some correlation, but it's not clear what exactly the correlation is. So clearly, you want to be able to trade these markets in a correlated fashion. And I'll show you a demo in the end. So bear with me while I explain to you how it used to work and how it works now. Okay. This is a little bit, here we go. Okay, so how it actually used to work is you took one collateral token here, and you put it into the event contract. So that actually bought you a complete set of outcome tokens. So this is an event that actually has 3 outcomes A, B, and C. So you would be given a complete set of outcome tokens, and then you can sell them off individually and trade them. Or you can actually use an entire set and trade it back for one collateral token. If you don't trade it back, eventually when the event is deliberated, one of these will be worth the collateral token and the other 2 will become worthless. So how does this work with nested markets now? In principle, you can have them, and they would look like this. Okay, so now you have 2 events. So for the first event, you have outcomes A, B, and C. And just because having another one with 3 outcomes got kind of messy, I made one with 2 outcomes. So the event 1 has outcomes A, B, and C. So you put in your collateral token. You get these 3 tokens. They are each an ERC20 token again. So you use them as collateral. You put them into the event contracts that ask high or low, and then you end up with 6 nested tokens. So basically, A and high, A and low, B and high, B and low, C and high, C and low. You get the idea. So this is somewhat arbitrary in that I could have done this the other way around. Let me show you. Oh, this doesn't like me. Okay, here we go. So this is the same. This is more or less the same market. It's just turned around. So basically, now the first question you're asking is it high or is it low? And then in the second round, you ask, is it A, B, or C? So you end up with 6 tokens as well. But if you compare them, okay, they're not the same. See? They actually match up 1-to-1. So basically, this one is A and high, and this one is high and A, but they're not fungible. So basically, they are worth 1 in the exact same conditions, namely if A and high are true, but they're not fungible. You can't just trade one for the other. So, and this is just with 2 conditions. This becomes even worse if you add more conditions. So basically, what we did is the following. Oh no, please work. Here we go. So this is the conditional token framework. And this is the idea. So basically, you specify a collateral token that you actually need to agree on. And then you can specify an arbitrary number of conditions. So here, it's the same 2 conditions that you had earlier, high or low, and A, B, or C. And it'll give you other crossover tokens, so you have the same 6 tokens that you have had earlier, but now they're actually fungible. So now you only have 1 A and high token, and it's exactly the same as earlier. So what does this actually give you? It gives you a couple of really nice properties. So as I said, A and high and A now are the actual same token, so you can actually, they're fungible. You can also have partial redemption. So you can actually imagine if, say, you know that, say you have this market, and now you know, now this part actually resolves. So you know A turns out to be true. what you actually do is, all the ones that actually have B and C in them, these four, so B and high, B and low, C and high, C and low, they become worthless. And what happens to A and high and A and low? Does anyone know? They just become high and low, because A is true, right? So basically it's high and A, but A is true, so it's just high and low. So this in effect it allows you to resolve markets partially. So basically, if you have different conditions and they don't resolve at the same time, you don't actually have to wait for the longest one. You can just do this at any time. Okay, what else do you have? You can buy baskets. So you could, for instance, say, I would like to buy a basket of everything where A does not come true. You can split positions. So this is actually a super nice one. So basically, if you look at this, you could just add another condition that say X or Y, and it would just double the number of tokens you have, the atomic tokens. So you would get an X token for this, and a Y token, and an X token and a Y token, and so on. And you can do this after the fact. So you can do this when you already have all of these tokens. You can split them after the fact, and you can also merge them after the fact. Oops. Okay. So how does this actually work? This works in a fashion that we're typically not used to, and that seems like it should be bad form. We call it the monolith. So it's something that people typically want to move away from. But here it's actually a deliberate smart contract design choice. So how does it actually work? So basically, all conditions are handled in one single smart contract. So basically, there's one smart contract that lives on the Ethereum chain, and that has all the conditions listed in them that you can subject your outcome token to. There's one restraint. So in principle, you can have as many conditions as you want, but you can only have 256 outcome slots per condition, which should probably do it for most cases. So this is just for guess reasons. This monolith smart contract is permissionless. There are no fees. When you add a condition, you have to add the oracle as well. And anything can be specified as an oracle. So basically, if you go back to admin's talk from just before now, he listed a couple of oracle solutions, and basically this thing is completely agnostic towards your oracle solution. So it's plug and play, really. So let me show you so I was actually going to show you a live demo of this, but the internet in this place actually forbids that because there's nothing live about the internet here. So I actually have a video that I'm going to pretend is a live demo. So bear with me. Okay, I hope I can pretend this is a live demo. Okay. So this is the market from earlier. So you have, will multi-collateral DAI go live on mainnet by November 1st? Will multi-collateral DAI overtake single collateral DAI by March 31st? Will the stability fee for single collateral DAI go up or down from today's value? And I will show you. Okay, so basically here, we select yes for one of them, and we buy this. So basically, this is the case that we had earlier with the L train. This is just buying one uncorrelated market, so plain vanilla. Let me show you how it goes through. So you place the order for 0.1 of an ether. Okay. Okay, so that went through. So now you actually have a stake that you can't see because basically it says transaction processing, which is a lie because it's all been done. So now let me show you something else. One more thing you can do is you can say, what is the probability of something happening given that something else it has happened or will happen. So basically say, for instance, what is the probability that multi-collateral DAI overtakes single collateral DAI given that multi-collateral DAI goes live on mainnet by November 1st? So what this would actually mean is if multi-collateral DAI doesn't go live on mainnet by November 1st, this would void and you would just be returned your collateral token. And if it does go live, the condition is met, so you've made the trade as you wanted to. So let me show you how this looks in the interface. So here you click, this should be conditional. So you can see that now the interface changed. So basically you're assuming that this is going to happen, and then you say, if this is going to happen, then then you have nested probabilities. What is the probability that the other two are going to happen? You can place trades on these conditional trades. So basically, in the case that these are completely independent markets, there will be no correlation, obviously, and the probability of A times the probability of B will just be the joint probability. But in case there are correlations or causations, actually, you will be able to tell from the way that the probabilities look. So let me quickly show you how this works. So basically now, we're assuming that market 2 is going to be true, and then you can buy whatever outcome token you want. So, and this was recorded earlier. I really wanted to do this live, but yeah. Okay. Okay, let me go back to the presentation. Okay, so I told you earlier that I wanted to talk about the conditional token framework. In principle, this is something that is open, it's infrastructure. Anyone can use it, anyone can build upon it, anyone can add conditions to the monolith, smart contract. But we have actually built an application that runs on top of this conditional token framework. It's called Site, and basically, it's information markets on anything but sports, so we're not allowed to do sports betting. It's a regulated application. As you all know, prediction markets are touchy from a regulatory point of view. So because they kind of straddle the divide between gaming, which is regulated or forbidden in most countries, and financial markets, which is also heavily regulated. There are things in between that are probably not regulated in most places, but it is a touchy subject. So we actually obtained a license. It's currently still in the in-principle stage. We'll get the full license later this year. It'll be for offering prediction markets to retail customers in Europe. It's non-custodial, so you always have your tokens in your own wallet. It's fully collateralized, so it's different from other products which give you higher leverage. It will be nominated in DAI, just simply because nominating something in a volatile asset often doesn't make sense. So you want something that is somewhat stable. Because it's regulated, we will also have to do AML and KYC. We're trying to make that as painless as possible. Eventually, we will also take a trading fee just because we also have to cover AML and KYC costs. entities will be able to request markets. So we will actually start with blockchain-based markets. So things like, will Ethereum 2.0 beacon chain go live? What will the maker stability fee be? Will DAI be reasonably stable? Will Project X launch their offering? What's going to happen to the price of Ether? We will, in the future, branch out into other domains. One of them being politics, because that's interesting to many people. But also other things, and companies will also be able to request markets off of us. So basically, for instance, say BMW would be able to come to us and ask us for a market, how many electric cars will be registered in Germany next year, and we would be able to offer that to them and would allow anyone who actually passed the AML and KYC standards to actually trade on that market. What's particular about the side product is that there's an automated market maker that is integrated into it. So basically you have, at every point in time, you have a probability against which you can trade up or down, and it's the same, no matter whether you actually trade up or down, it moves. So basically say the probability is 50%, and you say, I'll go long, then the probability is going to move up with it. So basically you can only get it to go in either direction for an incremental bit, and how much it moves depends on the seed funding of this market. But in principle, there will always be one price, no matter whether you actually buy it up or down, and we think that this is super important for the user experience for the user, because, I mean, what you often see on prediction markets is that they're fairly illiquid, so that basically if you buy a position and immediately sell it after, that you will actually lose a lot of money, and we think this is something that really turns users off. Okay. So what's the roadmap for this? So what you can do is you can sign up. So basically, we're still testing interfaces, because in principle, we can support super simple markets, things like will the L-train repairs be done by July 2020, but we can also do the correlated markets that I showed you earlier. And as you can imagine, doing a good user interface for the correlated markets is really difficult, because it's non-trivial what positions you actually hold, and in which cases they actually resolve to one, and in which cases they don't. And creating a good interface for that actually takes some time. So we will launch a closed beta in early October of this year. If you want to participate in this closed beta, sign up, and we will send you an invite, because it'll be invite only. You can sign up at site.pm. I think it just requires your email address. You have to specify how much crypto knowledge you have. Okay. This is a somewhat related announcement. So we at Gnosis have the Gecko Fund, the Gnosis Ecosystem Fund. There's a new wave of grants coming. If you want to find out more about this, go to gnosis/gecko. And we will be awarding grants of up to $100,000 in September. And we're also looking for a couple of colleagues. So if you're interested in working at a really nice company, go to boards.greenhouse.io/Gnosis. We're currently looking for a number of engineers, cryptographer, but also an HR manager, marketing manager, and an office manager. Fantastic. Thank you, guys.
Questions? It was all crystal clear.
Oh, I think there's a question there in the middle.
Great.
Oh, and also Johannes.
Where's the mic? Right, here we go. Brilliant. Here at the front.
Okay, so I hope I didn't miss the point in the presentation, but how are you going to resolve the markets in the side product?
Sorry, I had trouble understanding.
So I hope it wasn't mentioned in the presentation, I missed it, but how are you going to resolve the markets in the side product?
Oh, so basically the question is how are we going to resolve the markets on site, and those are going to be resolved by Gnosis. So Gnosis is the oracle.
Next one, somebody?
I have a question. Yeah, why did you decide to be regulated?
Can you introduce yourself as well? Let's start doing that stuff so we know.
Introduce myself? Oh, my name is Gonzalo Ferraras, and I like prediction markets. So the question is, why did you decide to be regulated? And the other question is, what's up with the 1% fee? Do you really need it? Is it too high?
Okay, so let me answer the first question first. So it seems, so basically, if you look at prediction market projects out there, there are a couple of projects that actually went the fully decentralized route. So Augur, they built a fantastic piece of software. You have to download it, you have to run it on your own machine, and then you can use it to interact with the Ethereum blockchain. I don't know whether, have you used it? It's difficult to use, and the reason it's difficult to use, it's because it's incredibly hard to build, because you actually have to build it as one single app that you actually run on your own computer. Updates is hard, and it seems that if you don't actually manage to be fully decentralized, and being fully decentralized and still having a market mechanism, so basically, there are two things here, right? So basically, you need a valid market mechanism. So you need something that actually provides enough liquidity for people to actually trade either way, and you need that's typically somewhat centralized. So actually doing that in a completely decentralized fashion is difficult. And if you don't manage to be completely decentralized, the experience has shown that you will be shut down. So you will be shut down as a business. I mean, this has happened to other projects in the space. So it seems like there's nothing in between being completely decentralized and being centralized/regulated. So basically, being in between is impossible. Seems to be impossible, and being completely decentralized is technologically really challenging. So we've decided to go the regulated route for now. And I mean, in principle, this doesn't, so basically the conditional standard, the conditional token standard is out there. Anyone can build upon it. I mean, that's the way that is intended. And basically the way that I see it is, in due time, people will be able to interact with it through our interface or through other interfaces, and it's their call. So, and the 1% trading fee, so we won't be levying it in the beginning. We do actually incur some costs. So basically, if you KYC and AML screen someone, it'll cost you about €5, and then per customer. You also need to repeat it periodically. You have certain other obligations that you are put under as a regulated entity. So yes, being regulated does increase costs, and this is why, I mean, basically the 1% is not set in stone. If we find that a lower trading fee also allows us to not lose money with it, we'd be happy to go with it too. But yeah, so we do need a trading fee.